welcome to our new set. Giving you a little behind the scenes action because we are filming in a new way, but this is for our Hollywood series, right? Lights, camera, and legacy. So I'm speaking from my director's chair. You can't really see it right now, but I'll point out really quickly. My good friends, doctors, Andrew and Dr. Gabby got me this cool director's chair. So I said, since we're doing the Women in Hollywood series, I would like to shoot from this chair. So thank you so much for joining us on Brown Girls Glow Live, where we speak to career women and speak about fulfilling your largest dreams, right? We speak to teenage girls about learning how to grow, lead, overcome, and win. I'm Mia Hall, I am your host, and I am the author of Glow Girl. Here it is. This is the only book you need for your teenage girl right now. So make sure you pick up a copy at miahalltv.com. All right, so today I am continuing the Lights, Camera, Legacy series. And today I would like to speak about shadowing a director on set. So my theme for the year is getting back on set, right? And thankfully, I was able in 2024, actually in March, March 7th to be exact, because the next day was my dad's birthday, I was able to shadow a director. And if you're in the community, and make sure that you subscribe to this channel, leave a comment, leave a review, like this video. But I will share in the community because they allow us to post pictures there. So I will share a few pictures from me being on set with Booker T. Madison. And I was actually on a movie set. So it's a full feature film. Booker T. Madison, I met through Sonia Denise, which I am very grateful for. I actually met him in it had to be about 2009, 2010, when he came out with a book. And it was such a great book. I think it's called Unsigned Hype, and it was just so visually captivating. And I know that he is working on bringing it to screen, and I can't wait until he does that. But, you know, fast forward to when I moved to Georgia, I found out that he was here as well. And I believe actually I saw him in church one day. And I was like, hey, Booker, how's it going? And things like that. And, we were able to catch up. And, so I would see him in church and, just tell him about my goals in film. And because at the time I was at the High School of Sports Management, and I was still very much focused on my sports career. And so when I first met him, and he was still writing books and primarily an author, and then he transitioned into, writing screenplays and things like that. But both of us were, not necessarily particularly in filmmaking. And so, fast forward to 2020, probably 2023 or 2022, when we started seeing each other at church. And I saw him with his family, his wife, his children, going to Change Church. And that's when we started to, connect. And I've been following him, so I saw that he had done, some films as a director, as a screenwriter. And I was like, man, I love watching your films. Like every time he had a film that came out, I was like, let me watch this, because he came out with some Christmas films and, just really great movies, because I already knew that he was a great writer from the book that he wrote. Anyhow, I remember, I believe he just reached out to me, like, because we had been in touch, and I, will send him things and, just see him on LinkedIn. He'll see me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and, just see me trying to working towards this film goal. And I have to acknowledge, since we're in the media Hollywood series. Congratulations to all the Oscar nominees and winners. But had to take a pause to do that because yeah, it was amazing to see. I have to shout out, Michael B. Jordan, because we've seen him for so long since he was a kid. Like, shout out to Ryan Coogler as well. Shout out to everybody that won Oscars this past weekend, and also, pardon the interruption. So yes, it's a big deal to even be nominated. And so shout out to everybody then. But we I think that we went so, we were so excited for Michael B. Jordan because we remember seeing him as a child actor. We've been seeing him for, over 30 years, probably, from child acting to now. So, we just love, seeing the journey. And of course we've seen Ryan Coogler, maybe for the last, I don't know, it could be 15, years, but we definitely are rooting for everybody black. But no, we're rooting for all these young and creative filmmakers and want to continue to see them grow. So yes, that was my Oscars interlude. And yes, so back to Booker. So one day I remember him saying that I can, he just it wasn't really out of the blue because we stayed in touch. I always tell people, it's not just who you know. They always say it's not only what you know, but who you know. And it's not just who you know, but who knows you, right? So we have to, I always emphasize to mentees, to anyone that wants to break into the sports or film and entertainment industry, to stay in touch with people. And so we stayed in touch. So it wasn't just like, I can't really say that it was out of the blue because, I kept him updated on what was going on with me. I have a newsletter that I send out periodically and look to keep my mentors and those that I'm in touch with updated and abreast on what I'm doing so that they can think of me when opportunities become available. So he was directing an original Tubi film, and he was like, do you want to shadow me one day on set? And I was so excited because I never shadowed a director on set. And I was like, yes, of course. And it was very close because I was leaving like the next day to celebrate my dad's birthday. Shout out to my pops. He just celebrated his 61st birthday. And every year for the past maybe 5 years, he's been doing a comedy show. So, and I've been helping him to plan it, put it on. So it's a whole thing. But, I was like, okay, Dad, I'm gonna have to come like right before. Like, I think I came in like the day of, or maybe the night before, to help him do his comedy show. But it was close, but we made it happen. And shout out to, and rest in peace, Ray DeJean. That's where we have the comedy show. So yeah, so I was, preparing for the day. I knew that I wanted to be on time. He was able to send me the script. I read the script and, just awesome film. He was able to give me the call sheet, of course. So I knew what time I needed to be there and to meet him. And yeah, it was just a phenomenal experience. It actually was in a neighborhood in Georgia that I haven't been to as of yet. And I love like these little towns that they have around here. And, so it was like in a little downtown area. And I was like, this is so cute. Like, so I was able to, go back, to that area because I'm like, this is just a place that I would love to come and work remotely. But anyway, it's not about that. But yeah, so I arrived to set, gave myself enough time to look for parking. You definitely want to make sure that you are on time. So I wore my, production black, and made sure that I found him. And, once I found him, the rest was history. It was such a great experience because of course, you see everybody setting up. He introduced me to the crew. He had his, his like morning meeting where, everybody in the crew and cast for the day huddles up and, goes over what is going to happen that day. And so, he introduced me as, shadowing him for the day. And that was great. And everybody was, introducing themselves to me. I met the AD, the first AC, all of the people, boom operators, and his daughter actually was on set as well. So, that was nice. So she and I were, doing some fill-ins and, just really helping all day. So I really didn't try to bother him too much. And, of course, I would suggest that to anyone, when they're working, it is, they're working. He was very, kind to kind of explain things to me as he went along. Like one of the things he told me was, about really being in communication and knowing like all of your crew, because that's like your team. So he was like, you can't come in with like a big ego and things like that. Like make sure that you communicate with them. They know, they trust you, in working with them, and that you're like a leader that is working together with them. And so I thought that was great. Then we went through the scenes. I basically, helped out where I could, filling in, but also, if somebody, needed a script or somebody needed, some water or things like that, like I also helped out on set because I didn't want to just be there like, oh yeah, I'm just here to shadow the director. I wanted to be a part of, helping them to produce the best shoot day that they could and get everything that they needed done. So I got there about 10 a.m. and then in the middle of the day, we broke for lunch. And then I also saw, just really how they put everything together. And we, of course, went into the evening. We, had several shoots and, of course, several different angles. I mean, you just really get to see everything that happens throughout the day. So that was very informative for me, especially just my first time really being able to be on a feature film set all day. I remember that my friend Robin and I were actually on the set of it was called something with a 30, and I feel like it wasn't Kevin Hart. I definitely know that Alan Payne was in it. So it's like 30 something it's called. And we were in a party scene. Now this is in New York, just random, they're like, do you want to be an extra? Yeah, we were like in our 20s probably. And, signed up to be extra on the film. So I just remember that's the only other like feature film set. And I don't know where that movie is now. I tried to look it up before. So that's the only time I've been on a film set. Now I did work on the film Brooklyn to Manhattan with Paul Hall, whom I was able to meet last year, which was so great. It was such a great reunion because we did that film like 10 years ago, directed by Jesse Terrero. So I've worked on a feature film. I was in the office. I was an office intern just early in my career when I was actually thinking about, because God had given me, I was actually thinking about getting into film because God had given me and my dad really the vision, like to turn our story into a film on the campus of Harvard. When my dad and I were there, I think this was like after my graduation, and it was just like, man, you went from the hood to Harvard, I went from Rikers Island to righteousness, and we should tell our story in a book, in a film, something. But we were really thinking about film because we always went to the movies with all the kids that my dad used to take out, all his god kids. He was, godfather to a lot of children growing up in pink houses in East New York and in Brownsville and surrounding areas. All his friends' kids were like his god's kids. So we were like, we need to tell our story. And so since then, I've been thinking about film, but of course I had a sports background, so I really was interested in sport management too and entrepreneurship. So that's when I hired a coach, and Sonia Denise, and she was the one who, just helped me to navigate sports, entrepreneurship, or film. And so I actually, prayed about it and everything. And really, what I came out with, after about probably like 6 weeks, I would say, 6 to 8 weeks of, just like, okay, which one am I going to do? Excuse me. We came out with sports. Me and the Holy Spirit, came out with sports. I really felt like God wanted me to make an impact in sports. And so that's what I did for like the first 10, 12 years of my career. I pretty much knew that I was going to come back to film in some way, but sports was really like my passion, my priority. And I was like, let me do this now, do everything that I need to do in sports, and then I'll go to film. So all that to say, I had that internship with the film called Brooklyn to Manhattan. If you look it up now, I don't think it's called Brooklyn to Manhattan, but it was with Evan Ross, Diana Ross's son. I saw him come into the office and get the cast gifts. I think I actually helped to get the cast gifts because I was, intern. We did everything. That was the first time I learned that, like, that on film sets, like, they have to provide lunch and. So I was like, oh yeah, I definitely want to work in film. Like, I was like, this was the most, interesting and fun job that I ever had. Not because we got free lunch, but, while they were shooting, they were like, we have to get you lunch while you're shooting. And so I was like, oh yeah, sign me up. But it was just a great environment. Like, there was always something new, like with locations, and I was working with, like, I believe the office manager, and she just always has something different to do. So it's always been interesting to me. But I was always in the office. I never went on set. So back to that March 7th, 2024. That was my first time on a feature film set. And so I want to thank Booker T. Madison for having me as letting me shadow him on the set of, The Usual Suspect. It's a thriller. It's still available on Tubi. Got to meet some great people there. One of the actresses, I see her around Atlanta from time to time. And it was a great experience that I'll never forget. And actually, in the summer of 2024, a few months later is when I shot my longest short film, because I shot a mise-en film that was 2 minutes long for film school earlier that year. Nonetheless, I, it didn't have any sound, it didn't have any dialogue, and so, so that summer it was like, okay, are you gonna do this film thing or not? And we scraped together like $1,000 to, if that much. It was probably less, but we just scrapped together what we could. Got a cameraman, got some actors. I had an amazing, crew actually. Just shout out to the whole crew from the short film, because I had an amazing crew that really did me a solid and did not, charge me, for the most part. The cameraman we paid, but yeah, my DP, it was just a great experience. So anyway, shout out to Booker, because that was an experience that changed my life. So of course I would recommend that if you can, if you can't direct your own projects, even if you can, to see if there's a director that you can build a relationship with first. And, unless it's like Will Packer, I saw today, and this is what really inspired the video, that Will Packer was on the Jennifer Hudson show, and somebody, a Cheney student, asked him a question, and he was like, come here, and, you can come on the next set of My Hollywood Film. He invited her to the premiere of their film that's coming out with Chloe Bailey and Ray J. Not Ray J. It's Ray, I believe it is. But yes, so unless you're like that, like, you never know. But yes, definitely I would 10 out of 10 recommend shadowing a director on set, because you will learn so much and you'll be able to see yourself. When you get on set, be on time, make sure that you are helping in areas, especially when you're not occupied with something that the director wants you to do, ask, of course, without interrupting anybody if there's anything else that they need help with, and look for opportunities to help, right? And then, take notes. I had a notebook with me. Take your notes. Make sure that you are writing things down and remember your experience. But also, I would say number 4, visualize yourself in that director's seat. Visualize yourself in the producer's chair, right? I don't necessarily want to direct. I have directed before because I want to produce. I know that Gina Prince Bythewood, she says that she writes so that she can direct. And that's why I do what I do, because I love to produce. I love bringing people together, and that's what I'm going to continue to pursue. So thank you for tuning in today. Please make sure you tune in next week, and until then, keep growing, keep glowing, and keep on elevating. I'll see you. Peace. Mm.